This case is much more difficult for us to do that because, it's not that, you have just one silo. These are not silos. These are, these have linkages everywhere.
It's a consent order.
All right? That's not the purpose. But therefore, I think the reason why we are trying to push you to this, and let's be very candid about it also, the reason why
Lordship decriminalized a particular activity which was till then an offense, but that did not give any status to the relationship.
No, it recognized the existence of this situation.
Yeah,
It's no more a criminal.
Not be adversarial, and my lord, I'll talk to the government, and my lord, whatever best on those human issues, my lord, can be done. My lord, we are not that way, my lord, adversarial in that sense. Certainly, my lord. On Vishaka, I have separate, my lord, a limb of submissions because that was a complete vacuum.
You're absolutely right.
Absolute vacuum.
And I tell you, Vishaka was an
It
easier.
was a regulatory mechanism.
Another thing you see.
Of an admitted fundamental.
See, another thing, Vishaka deals with an issue, a social issue which does not have interlinkages. You have sexual harassment in the workplace. You have models of disciplinary inquiries, which is a part of our jurisprudence. So what we did was we internalized that, created, the sexual gender sensitization committees. Complaint will be heard by the gender sensitization committee, and that person will be dealt with. Okay, so it was a workplace. It was defined by a physical workplace, so it was much easier.
The identifiable class, identifiable inhabitation, and identifiable issue.
So the canvas was smaller.
Very.
Therefore, it was open to the court there to say, as our court said, that in view of CEDAW, pending the creation of legislation, this is what the framework that we will adopt. This case is much more difficult for us to do that because, it's not that, you have just one silo. These are not silos. These are, these have linkages everywhere.
It's a consent order, my lord.
Succession, adoption, maintenance, everything. So
even domestic
association, yes, which should entitle them to certain benefits. That's all. Not to say that once we say that once we have accepted the identity and association of two persons should not automatically mean that their association is actually equated to marriage.
Mr. Solicitor, the old Privy Council principle, long cohabitation itself raises a presumption of marriage. Why? Because in the olden times, I don't think at least in our parental, you're much younger than all of us, but in our parental time,
don't look.
Where were the marriage
for either of us?
Tell us where were the marriage certificate, where were the registration? Mr. Dwivedi just said that he doesn't have a registration.
Neither do I.
Who had the so therefore we developed the concept of the presumption of marriage out of long cohabitation. And that has something, that's a very important principle which we have adopted. So if there is in that sense, we are not going to marriage right now at all. All right? That's not the purpose. But therefore, I think the reason why we are trying to push you to this, and let's be very candid about it also, the reason why we are pushing the government to this is because we take your point that, look, if the court were to go into the legislative arena, you've made a very powerful argument on that, look, you'll be legislating. This is not your remit. This is for Parliament or the state legislatures under Entry 5 as we put up front. But short of that, our law has gone so far now. Now what does the government want to do to ensure that these cohabitatory relationships, if I can call it that, the relationships based on cohabitation, on association, Brother Narasimha says, they must be recognized in terms of creating conditions of security, social welfare. And to ensure, by doing that, we also ensure that for the future, that these relationships cease to be ostracized in society.
That is transgender sex. I can show, my lord, the entire scheme.
Solicitor, I would like to pose a question. See, with the decriminalization which took place,
yes,
obviously this was indirectly a recognition that such a status can prevail. Once such a status can prevail, logically I would think that different social ministries would have possibly, I don't know, would like to know, gone into a study of how to tackle these very other problems which would arise from a continuation of such status. After all, when you say living in relationship, that's also not given any other sanctity, but the social legislation took into account that aspect. So when you talk about a homosexual relationship and people staying and decriminalization, coming out of the closet, the next question would have been, how will different legislation areas where interests would be involved of two people or more than two people, like the adoption case Chief Justice talked about, would have logically, to my mind, given a thought in the ministries to think about it. Has such a thought process prevailed? Because I at the cost of repetition, agreeing with the chief, feel that this is, let's not transpose the Victorian philosophy as our original civilizational philosophy. That would certainly be difficult to accept. So you may also check up whether any thought process has been worked out in the concerned ministries dealing with such aspects, or any thought process has been given to it in the last 5 years.
Yes, well, once it has fallen from your lordships, it's my duty. I'll point out and I'll my lord, find out and respond. But my lord, in my submission, my lord, in my understanding,
we'll request you on this to assist us in a non-adversarial way.
and my lord,
I will request you to assist us in a non-adversarial way on this.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Lord, the elimination of the problems faced by them, Lord, regarding, my lord, as pointed out, my lord, nomination,
The human angle.
a human angle. That, Lord, anything, and my lord, but your lordship's decriminalization would not, my lord, be understood and has not been understood by the government also as a recognition of any status. Apropos, my lord Justice calls, my lord, query that your lordship decriminalized a particular activity which was till then an offense, but that did not give any status to the relationship.
No, it recognized the existence of this situation.
Yes,
It recognizes that it's no more a criminal activity, it's an existence of a relationship, existence of a situation.
and that can continue. There is no prohibition against that continuance of the
Solicitor,
activity.
when we say that a live-in
No,
relationship,
there are large number, I'm sorry.
no, a live-in relationship also, in a sense, falls in that category where, will you say that there may not be any marriage, may not be recognition, but certain obligations would follow. Similarly, gay people living together may not be married, decriminalized, open. Such situation would prevail where problems are bound to arise in different aspects of legislation or social requirements.
Yes, my lord.
That's what I wanted to know. Considering the social requirement, like examples given, whether of bank accounts, of adoption, of so many other things, the inconsistency which would come in when such people come out into the open is an aspect. I thought maybe the government had thought about it, something about it.
Yes, I'll find out and respond. But
Assuming they haven't.
But, my lord, I make it clear that I would, my lord, assist the Honorable Court qua,
Yes.
my lord, so far as possible and legally permissible, the removal of the problems they are facing.
Barriers, actually.
Not, yes,
barriers.
my lord, not, my
And
lord,
somewhere, some semantics have to be.
without any legal or statutory recognition.
Solicitor, one caveat is necessary. When you do remove it, the semantics of it are equally important. How do you treat them?
Yes, yes.
You may or may not call them spouse, but nowadays there's a more neutral word there. The neutral word is partner.
Partner.
That's a partner is a very neutral word which is being used. That's in currency now. So which is the appropriate terminology you would like to use? Those also have to be, otherwise it might be counterproductive. There may be nothing.
Yes. Well,
The concern is that you may not want to confer a particular status.
Recognition.
At the same time, there is some need to bring down those barriers.
well, that whatever administratively can be done, my lord,
This is, Mr. Solicitor, completely in line with what you were suggesting. An issue like this, the remit is actually with the Parliament or with the executive to take into account. So therefore, we were putting it to you only.
Certainly, my lord, and I can assure your lordships, my stand would on this not be adversarial. And my lord, I'll talk to the government, and my lord, whatever best on those human issues, my lord, can be done my lord, we are not that way, my lord, adversarial in that sense.